today to be speaking to Chad Phillips from Standard Bank in Jersey here at the Mount Nelson Hotel in Cape Town. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you very much, David. Thanks for having us.
So it's a wonderful day here in Cape Town, and we're looking forward to our networking dinner later on. Yeah. You've been on the road with your colleague, Michael Giroux, for the last 10 days or so. Tell us a little bit about your trip so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic to be back home.
Yeah.
I think South Africa always brings something inside of me out. You know, having not been here for a long time, having been resident in Jersey for over 23 years, coming back here always amazes me. I miss the culture, I miss the people, but I know I've got that little secret spot back home in Jersey where I can go back and chill and relax.
You're regularly back and forth, aren't you, on the plane? I mean, we were chatting the other night about the number of trips you've made this year. I mean, perhaps you tell us, what's your normal kind of travel schedule coming to see clients there?
No, well, it varies from time to time, but, up until, COVID ended, we were sort of given the green light to travel again. And of course, I was dealing with clients, over the years during COVID where these guys were stuck at home and, they were losing their marbles. They wanted us in front of them. As a business development professional, I think, the most important thing is to service your clients, get there. So yes, when the green light was given, I was on that plane, Standard Bank gave me the approval, off I went. This is my fourth trip over to South Africa since then. And I'm happy to say, the clients I've seen and, the new prospects that I've interviewed and had discussions with, they are over the moon to have someone in front of them. It always adds.
Do you go to all parts of the country? Do you see?
Yes.
Do you see the same things in different parts?
Well, Cape Town. I tend to go to Cape Town, Durban, and Joburg. Those are my focus areas. I look after and focus on Southern Africa and the UK as two areas. We are exploring other areas in Southern Africa where we feel there's a need, and people are coming and saying to us, "Listen, come and see us. Come and talk to us." We're looking at offshore structuring. The main focus for me is around, structuring high net worth and ultra high net worth families' wealth for them. Being at the forefront and being proud to be part of Standard Bank, Africa's biggest bank, biggest lender by assets. We get those opportunities where, those clients in Southern Africa are looking at our services. So I feel very grateful to be able to be put in front of them to have a conversation initially. And, to also assist them with their affairs. I've seen over a number of years now, having been in the space for quite some time, a lot of families chip and change their ideas. Family dynamics is a massive topic for me, of discussion, getting to understand the family's needs, getting really close to the families. When you set up a discretionary trust, David, it's not something that you go and buy off the shelf. It's a long-term commitment. And I think families, appreciate that, when they speak to an advisor, that understands their family dynamics, understands the kids, the children, the dynamics of the family, because families change and evolve, and, kids move from South Africa to the US, to the UK. And, if you don't capture them before they make those decisions, and if you don't keep at front of mind with these families, drastic things happen, and, families are left in situations where there are huge liabilities, and it's important to keep on top of that stuff.
And they can't understand every risk that exists around the international scene. I says that's where the relationship with you is important, because if they know, right, to pick up the phone, we're thinking about, X is thinking about, we're looking at this kind of investment, or family member thinking at studying abroad, just to walk them through. But you need that dialogue, don't you, in order to access the specialists to get the expertise.
Excellent. I mean, 100%, what you say is correct. And, again, being front of mind for your families and being there for them, understanding the dynamics, understanding the asset classes, understanding the locations of the assets. The number of clients that I've spoken to, the more you get to understand their needs, the more you get to understand about what their future plans are. A lot of families are very reserved, and rightfully so. They've worked very hard for their assets, and getting to understand these families and getting close to them, they tend to open up. And at that point, then we are able to drive a lot of value from an offshore professional trustee perspective to wealth management, to investments. Standard Bank's got a fantastic offering, a one-stop shop for our clients, where we drive a lot of value to them. And
is credit and lending important in that? Because credit and lending often opens the door, doesn't it? Because it's sometimes solving a problem for the client. They want to buy, real estate or different type of asset. They need some financing in their business. Or do you find, or what is there anything particularly that unlocks the initial conversations with clients?
Again, it all depends on the client themselves. Everyone's position is different. And again, I refer back to family dynamics. If you understand the family dynamics, you're able to identify in conversations that need for what they want to do. As a perfect example, you have a family that's looking at relocating to the UK. Dad's wanting to send the mum and the daughter off first because the daughter wants to get into university. At that point, then you recognise and identify the need for a conversation around tax planning. At that point, you will work with your tax advisor. You will make the referral. They'll have the conversations. We don't facilitate any of that. That's not our profession. We are not tax advisors. So you leave them to have that conversation. You then circle back, touch base with them. You understand their tax position. And as professional trustees, we take that tax advice and we implement that appropriate structure for them. And that there actually lets them sleep at night. It allows us to sleep at night. There's a lot of families that have in the past received tax advice, but they only get a small portion of the bigger picture. So what happens is, because they've perhaps visited a nice rugby game and they've met a guy there someone that's been introduced to them, they get a small portion of the tax advice and they think, oh great, I've got all I need now, I've got an opinion on a piece of paper, this is going to work for me, let's go family, let's buy that house in the UK, let's move over. And 99% of the time with that little bit of tax advice, that's not the bigger picture, that doesn't cover everything for them, stings them later on down the line, because they move over, they move into the property, or the daughter and the mum will move into the property, and then the next minute there's other tax considerations they haven't considered when there's a distribution being paid or something, and you've got a huge liability. So
there's a massive opportunity to come and move to the UK and have a tax, a very tax efficient lifestyle with the remittance basis.
100%.
But if people don't get that advice in advance and I've already been living in London for 6 months, all your planning, is compromised, isn't it?
Exactly. All the planning is compromised, and all it does then is it puts a very big strain on the relationship. I'm helping, and I do assist a lot of families that have, at this moment in time, there's been a lot of movement of families from other trust companies to Standard Bank because of our fantastic model. We work very closely with our clients. We've been in business, for generations. I mean, Michael's team in the office in Jersey administer structures that are second and third generation. Our staff turnover is very low. We are very committed. I mean, two of the chaps in the office have been there for 20 and 30 years, and others have been there for over 10 years. So there's a big team, and clients like that. Clients like that sense of security. They can pick up the phone, phone the trustee. The trustee knows when their birthday is and sends them a message to say, happy birthday, how are you getting on? So what we found lately is a lot of those clients are leaving because they're not getting that. Fees are going up. There's been a lot of acquisitions in Jersey over the last couple of years where larger private equity firms have acquired these smaller independent trust companies. And as a result, there's been a lot of movement. Some of the clients aren't happy because the administrators have left because they're perhaps not happy with the branding, who knows. But
fees are on the rise.
Exactly, fees on the rise, people under pressure. And that's where we get in, and that's where I get the referral through from my fantastic network in South Africa, Cape Town and Joburg. I've got a great network of internal stakeholders. I've got a great network of clients, intermediaries who I've been introduced to, because often a client will come with his intermediary, and that intermediary doesn't know anything about Standard Bank. I mean, over the years, Michael's touched on it many times before, a lot of clients in South Africa, and in particular the intermediaries, didn't even know we had an offshore offering with Standard Bank. And it's crazy because we've been going for a very long time. Over 60 years we've been providing fiduciary services. So for me, it's exciting.
One of the tricky issues for trustees often, the strong, robust settlor who having that conversation about control, giving up control, and how they manage that conversation. I mean, one of the tax advisors we spoke to earlier in the week said that is every conversation is really, that's the nub of actually the most difficult part of the conversation. Someone who's built up wealth, understanding that they're gonna, if they want to benefit from the structure, actually have to give a little bit of control away, or
exactly.
How do you see that conversation playing out with some of strong characters that are part of this market.
Yeah, David, it's a chuckle. It's a chuckle all the time. I look at it like this. For me, it's like a boxing match sometimes.
Yeah.
You get clients who are very stubborn, and unless you educate them, the whole reason for setting up an offshore trust for me, and it's always been a passion of mine, is for succession and legacy arrangements. You want to safeguard those assets from political instability, perhaps. You want to safeguard them, for wealth preservation. You want to enhance your trust fund. When a client in South Africa hands over those hard-earned assets or that hard-earned cash to us as trustees, and they give us the legal ownership of those assets, who would want to do that if they don't know the trustee very well? If I didn't know anything about the offshore trust world and some guy called Chad came to speak to me and said, give me your assets, I'll look after them in Jersey for you, but listen, they're not yours anymore, I'd be like sort of thinking twice about that. So it's all about the education process. It's all about educating them.
That is one thing on the bank-owned side, isn't it? If you're a bank-owned trustee, you've got a financial services organisation with deep pockets standing behind all of this, whereas the independent, people say that, with so much private equity money coming into the sector, an independent is only going to be independent for so long. Exactly. And it's a matter of time. Exactly. So then it's about making a choice. And actually, for certain clients, the bank-owned fiduciary, I think, offers something that represents some stability and continuity, doesn't it?
100%, David. I think it's very unique. Our offering is very unique. We've recently won the Wealth Briefing Award, and that really showcased us. And with all the hard work that's been put in behind the scenes, we had a lovely, a colleague of mine that started with us not so long ago, Samri Kraus. She's from Cape Town. She left, being a lawyer, and she joined the team, and she's been working very closely with myself and Michael and the rest of the team to build a fantastic, profile for ourselves. And without her doing all the hard work behind the scenes and taking ownership of some of these tasks that have been thrown her way, we would still be back there, but we're not. We're forward. We're a lot forward. And I think, again, Michael touched on it earlier. We communicate. We're a fantastic team. We've got a fantastic team in Mauritius that are focused on East and West Africa. I'm in regular dialogue with my head of business development in Mauritius. I speak to the team. Whenever opportunities come through from Southern Africa, Cape Town, Durban, Joburg, that have perhaps got a connection in Kenya or Nigeria, it's a quick call to my colleague in Mauritius, who then swoops in and takes over the communications, allowing me to then go out and focus on my areas.
And you've been part of the Jersey Finance Roadshow. You've been along at the events, Michael, obviously up on stage. But what's the atmosphere been like in those events? What did you get out of them?
Well, the atmosphere in Johannesburg was electrifying. I think Michael did a fantastic job as usual. He's a fantastic leader. He's really likable. People respect him. He's highly knowledgeable. And I think Joburg, as Michael rightfully said, the audience was very challenging. They were very sort of like enthusiastic. There were a couple of questions that, I don't ever say people ask stupid questions, because there's no stupid question. We all learn all the time. But there were a couple of questions that, really,
more entry level.
Yeah, more entry level. But also it sort of made out very clear to me that there's still a very large audience in South Africa that don't really understand the difference between an offshore trust and an onshore trust. And I think things are changing, times are changing. The onshore trust world here in South Africa is changing. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes with SARS and HMRC in the UK. So it's very, very, very important that whoever's got South African trusts and onshore trusts, it's important you start to speak and think twice about what you're actually doing.
Great. And what are your priorities for 2023? How's that shaping up as we get to the end of this year?
Well, I spent the last few days in the office in Jersey working on my business plan for 2023, which incorporated, the likes of Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. And, those are other areas of focus that, we have Standard Bank being Africa's biggest bank. We've got some presence and, areas we can work with to help those high net worth individuals structure their affairs offshore. So it's all about, getting me diving into that, paying a little bit more focus on that, as well as Southern Africa, visiting, the families here. I plan to be here next year for at least another 4 trips. We've just employed another colleague that's joined me, Natricia. So she's going to be based down in Durban, and at least there she's on the ground. You know, she comes from a legal background, previously worked with Walkers. So the fact that I want to be getting called from opportunities or prospects on the ground in Joburg, Durban, Cape Town, it's a matter of me picking up the phone, introducing Nutritia, who can go and see them in their home. You know, it's all about, for me, it's all about being front of mind, and it's all about education, and it's all about, you know, being there to add value to our clients. You know, our clients, you know, some have been with Standard Bank for donkey's years, and it's all about giving them the value that they deserve, but also, you know, also educating them of on what's there for them.
Fantastic. Well, look, I wish you all the best with your endeavours. Thank you to you and to Standard Bank for sponsoring our event in Johannesburg, and I look forward to sharing this interview.
No problem, David. Thank you so much for letting us chat today, and thanks for your time, and we'll share a brandy or Clippies and Coke with you later.
I look forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you.
The latest technical content delivered through global conversations with professionals for professionals.